Hello, good evening, and welcome to Monkeys with Fire. How is everybody tonight? Hope you're all well. Hope you're having a good week. Good evening, Mystical. Welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight. So, we are, of course, going to take a look at another role-playing game system. What are we taking a look at this evening? We are going to be exploring Coriolis, the Third Horizon from Free League Publishing. I started to take a look at this system while I was away a couple of weeks ago, and wow, I have been mesmerized by the setting and the design of this game. Very much looking forward to exploring it with you guys. Mystical, I guess we can jump straight on in. So are you all set and ready? Yes, all right, let's bring you on in then. Good evening.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Before we get started, of course, I always do a little bit of a caveat with these RPG explorations. I am no expert by any means. I played role-playing games back in my sort of early college days. I've had a long break from the scene, and so over these recent weeks I have been rediscovering RPGs and how much they have changed over time. So by all means, in the chat, if there's anything you want me to sort of focus in on or take a look or try and explain, do let me know, type it on in, and I'll do my best to explain. All right, shall we jump to the table and let's take a look at the game. Okay, so here we go. Free League was very kind to provide us with a hard copy of the core rules, as well as the third part of an ongoing campaign, Mercy of the Icons. As you can see, this is part 3, Wake of the Icons. So we're not going to look at that tonight, because I feel that we should do part 1 before we do part 3. So we're going to wait. But as you would expect from Free League, and we will look at the core book in a second, the quality of this is absolutely fantastic. They also have a really nice map pack here that we might take a look at another time. But let's just have a quick scan at the core book here, which is weighty. Oh my goodness. What do we have? Just flipping to the back here. 384 pages of game with everything in here, and I'm just teasing a few little elements. We don't want to look at the campaign at the back in too much detail, but we will go through this as the digital PDF, because of course all of their games do come with a digital version, which of course is very, very handy. You have a tablet to be able to quickly search for a certain rule or aspect. We'll enjoy the artwork full screen in a moment, but it's really, really nicely made, as we've kind of come to expect from Free League, haven't we? Their books are nicely designed. The artwork is really, really nice.
They nail it every time.
They do, don't they? Yeah. It's and it's interesting because, of course, this game is one of their older games, but you can see that they were already doing really, really awesome production value back then. And of course, with this being a space-themed game, it's interesting then, of course, that they have since released the Alien role-playing game. And so they're no strangers to the sci-fi space genre. But there's plenty of stuff here to really get your teeth in. And we're going to look at that in a second, because the introduction, when I was reading that last week, that just blew me away. So we will we'll bring up the digital version. Let's make sure this all works. Okay, I think we're good. Let's see. There we go. All right, excellent. So then, Coriolis, the Third Horizon. We have a jump straight to the contents there, which is nicely laid out. Very easy to identify the various areas in the book. We have a little bit of a preface there. And then we go into the introduction. And I think it, for me, and I don't know about you, Mystical, but it's the setting of this game that has really captured my imagination. And it summarizes it quite nicely just on this page here. Coriolis in a nutshell. So Coriolis, the Third Horizon, is a role-playing game set in space. There are ships, space stations, and starry vistas, just like in any other space-themed RPG. What separates Coriolis from other sci-fi RPGs is first and foremost the social environment, which in Coriolis is strongly inspired by the Middle East. The unique features of the games are listed below. So, Arabian Nights in space. The Coriolis world is inspired by Middle Eastern culture rather than the Western one. Food, music and fashion, as well as religion, philosophy and literature. Most importantly, myths and folk tales from the Middle East deeply entwine with the spirit of the game world. The Third Horizon is a world where ancient myth meets high technology. And as soon as I read that, that was it. They had me. What about you?
It's so cool because we get so much that is like this, but Western culture.
Yes.
So it's so nice to see it done in a different culture.
Yes, most definitely. I mean, there is, of course, a place if you want to play a Star Trek or a Star Wars type of sci-fi game. Of course, you can quite easily get hold of those. But I kind of also like the games that are different settings. And so, you know, I started thinking straight away, as soon as I read that, I thought, oh, wow, well, is this a little bit like maybe Babylon 5 or Firefly? You know, these sort of alternate sci-fi TV shows and settings where it's a bit different. And it does actually reference Firefly as we skip to the next page. But yes, being this Middle Eastern theme, so different. And so you're learning and exploring, and it all feels original, doesn't it?
Even though you can see where it has pulled from certain inspirations, it comes together as its own unique thing, which is great.
Yes, most definitely. So it continues. So the old versus the new. The central theme to Coriolis is the conflict between the first come, the Horizon's earliest settlers, and the Zenithians, descendants to the second wave of colonists arriving on board the Zenith. Although the first come have already established their culture throughout the Horizon when Zenith arrived, the Zenithians have grown to dominate more and more in the last decade through trade, hostile expansion, and colonization. Zenithians' cultural imperialism is a key factor in the conflict between the Consortium and the Zenithian faction. and the first come order of the pariah. See, already. so we have a little bit of an idea of the setting, of the theme, the Middle Eastern culture. Now we've been given an idea of the politics, which you want to just ask more questions, don't you? It's just teasing so much. And then
it really makes you want to explore the world, which is fantastic.
Yeah. And then finally, it's the mysticism and icon worship. So worship of the icons permeates everything in the world of Coriolis. The religion is the smallest common denominator for people of the third horizon, while faith is strongest with the first come, especially so amongst the ranks of the Church of the Icons and the Order of the Pariah. The recently arrived Zenithians have too converted to worshipping the icons in large numbers. The level of religious commitment varies from superstitious hauler crews praying to the traveller before a portal jump, to missionaries zealously devoted to the holiest of struggles, saving the horizon one soul at a time. So we have religion as a major component within the game. And then the final part is the dark between the stars. The omens have foretold it, and the clergy have preached it for a long time now. The dark between the stars, the unspeakable corrupting force at work in the intersections between civilization and the endless nothingness of space, seems to be real. In Coriolis, the dark between the stars plays roughly the role of the devil in Earth's Christianity. So, so we've got some foreboding presence out there in the inky blackness of space.
Because it's not like we didn't need more things that are terrifying in space, right? Like.
Exactly, space just wants to kill you, and now we know there's something there that really, really does.
Space is just like the ocean, just stay out of it.
Yes. Keep your feet firmly on the land and you'll be okay. So, exactly. So it does give some handy tips here for inspiration, and as I mentioned, it references Firefly, the TV series about a crew on board a small freighter vessel. Has a lot in common with Coriolis, just trade the Western influence for Arabian Nights. And instantly, as soon as I read that, you can imagine it, can't you? It's take Firefly, take, I suppose, Aladdin, just merge the two together. There we go. Done. I'm not familiar with...
the chaos.
I'm not familiar with, is it Revelation Space, a series of books by Alistair Reynolds? Are you aware of those?
I have not read these ones. No.
Okay. So that's something to maybe put on a reading list. And then, of course, it does reference Alien by Ridley Scott, which, of course, then is very apt, considering that in years later, Free League have launched the Alien role-playing game. So... But, that's its own universe, and you have a good idea on what that is because of all the movies and the comic books and the books that are available. But this is a new universe to discover, which I knew nothing about, and of course that was the treat, wasn't it? So, I mean, of course, as a typical introduction, it goes through and tells us a little bit about our character and ship sheets and the dice and maps and plans, things that you would expect in any role-playing game. And then it starts telling us a little bit about the third horizon. And the third horizon is 36 star systems joined through space and time by mystic portals. The horizon of today is a melting pot of different cultures, peoples, and factions. And this made me think of a series of video games, and I think they're called X2 and X3. and they're on the PC, and you would be, well, you could play the game however you wanted. You could be a trader or a bounty hunter or a fighter pilot or an explorer in your spaceship, and each of these systems was linked by portals. So straight away it's like, all right, again, I can visualize, I can see how this might work from that playing that game. And it kind of made me think of all the space sim games that I've played. And here it is now in sort of role-playing form.
I don't know these video games.
Do you know? Oh, you need to check them out. The other ones that
I know XCOM.
No, well, oh yeah, XCOM is the strategic one, isn't it? With aliens invading.
I don't know
The games that I'm thinking of is, I think it's called X2 The Threat.
Okay.
And I think it's by a company called EgoSoft. They may be a little bit old now, but they looked absolutely amazing back in the day. You could fly a small one-man ship all the way up to a huge cruiser with a crew of hundreds of people on board. And the visual graphics of space stations and planets, absolutely amazing. There is, of course, more recently, Elite, which of course allows you to explore our sort of universe. There's Star Citizen, which may get released at some point. But then going back to the past, there was Freelancer and Privateer. All of these games all just inspired my imagination because they kind of allowed you to do whatever you wanted in this sort of space universe. It was your ship, and what you did, you kind of role-played it yourself just by your actions. So if you were hunting down peaceful passenger or cargo haulers, then you were a pirate, and you knew that because of your actions. But if you were mining ore and taking it from one asteroid field and then selling it at a local space station, then you were a trader or a miner, you know. So you played it how you wanted, and that sort of denoted the role-playing sort of experience. But so I've got a good sort of idea of how I can visualize this game from all those video games that I played. And they were a lot of fun. So the introduction does start to go through in detail about the Third Horizon. It talks about two colonization vessels that left Earth, the Zenith and the Nadir. And we already know that the Zenith arrived. Well, actually, was it the Zenith that arrived? Let me get this right. I think the Zenith arrived first, didn't they? Oh no, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah,
No, this is the thing.
No, they were the second wave.
Yes, the Zenith and the Nadir set off at the same time. The Nadir was lost, which of course, as soon as I read that, it's like, okay, when's the Nadir going to turn up? there's a lost civilization somewhere, isn't there? Yeah, but
yep.
It explains here that after the Zenith had left Earth, Earth actually discovered and perfected the portal technology. And so what they were able to do was to send another group of people from Earth to the Third Horizon, colonize it, and then the Zenith turned up many, many years later. Even though they set off first, but they were going the traditional route. And so it took them much, 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 much longer. So you can understand why there would be this friction between these two groups of people, because I guess the Zenithians must feel robbed. That, you know, they should have been the first colonists, and of course they came second.
Yeah, I mean, I would feel robbed.
Yeah.
I was on that. You were promised, if you go on this trip, you know, you're going to get to colonize it, and you don't till afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, it does sort of tease a little bit about how they have since aggressively expanded within the third horizon. But you can see how there's going to be a bit of an animosity between the Zenithians and, I'll get the name right because it's the first comers, isn't it? Let's just make the old versus the new, isn't it? Yeah, the first come. So that's the thing, is the first come is, you're not really, because you just cheated.
Exactly.
So yes, so they colonization vessels sought out distant stars, establishing the first and second horizons. Finally, the third horizon was reached and became a haven for radicals and free thinkers from the first two horizons. Earth-like worlds were discovered and colonized, massive palaces and temples erected, civilization slowly spread across the third horizon. And then it talks about the portal wars, because you've got to have a bit of a war, haven't you? And
of course you do. You can't have these games without some sort of war.
that's it. And then it talks about the Zenith arriving. So, I mean, I don't think it doesn't actually state a timeline here, but it could have been thousands of years, couldn't it? Because it said the slaughter lasted for several years. It depends how long this colony ship, it could have been several generations worth.
Yeah. Because up in the beginning, it even says that on the Zenithians were descendants of the second wave of colonists on board of the Zenith.
Oh, there we go then. So it's at least a good 60, 70 years, isn't it then, maybe?
Yep.
So, yes, it then talks about the Zenithians and the first come. And we then talk about actually Coriolis and Kua. I'm going to say it's called Kua. So the center of the third horizon is the Kua system, where the space station Coriolis orbits the green jungles of the planet Kua. The system is also home to the burning hot planet Labu and the acidified Gina, an asteroid belt, the gas planet Zine. Oh, you know I'm ruining all these names. The ice planet Surha, and furthest out, an outer asteroid belt where the only one of the 9 sectors is inhabited. Most of the system's inhabitants live on the planet Kua. I am going to ruin so many names tonight.
And I'm going to let you.
Oh, thank you. You do that. So there may dwell close to an ancient wonder left behind by the portal builders, a gigantic monolith made habitable by the Zenithians, or in the industrial conglomerate that stretches along the planet's equator. Okay, so the core planet here is we've got this jungle world. There's this huge monolith in this world. But they have made a section of industrial, just like I'm going to think, of course, Coruscant from the Star Wars lore. So, again, okay. So we've got a little bit of, I don't know if did you watch The Expanse, or have you read The Expanse books?
I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah, so you know when they discovered a portal and they traveled to a new planet, and they had a large ancient structure, which of course was left by the builders, whoever they might be. So we've got that element, which of course leads to plenty of storytelling. It talks about these factions, which we've already started touching upon a little bit, the Zenithians and the First Come. But we also have the religious factions. So let's just see here. So when the Zenithians founded Coriolis, they sent word to all major powers in the Third Horizon to come to the space station and set up a council for peace and trade. This is very Babylon 5. The invitees became known as factions, and the council a force for peace and commerce. Albeit some conflicts remained unsolved. The council factions of today are, oh, here we go. The Consortium, a group of powerful corporations. The Zenithian Homogeny, the descendants of the captain's family on board the Zenith. The Free League, that's convenient. The Union of Free Traders. The Mercenaries of the Legion. The Secretive Draconites. The Divine Iconocrates of the Order of the Pariah. Halam's Temple with its courtesans and philosophers. That's a nice mix. And lastly, the People's Church, the Church of the Icons. Two additional groups
That's an odd mix.
It's everything there, isn't it? So let's break that down. We have a load of corporations. So we've got Apple and Microsoft there, and Amazon. We have the descendants. Google, yeah. We have the descendants of the second colony ship that arrived. We have a group of free traders.
Specifically the captain's family, it says.
The captain's family, yes. So you could imagine that they might see themselves as a bit of a royal structure within this, wouldn't they? Yeah, they could be considered royalty, maybe. We've got the Free League, so a union of free traders. So obviously this is maybe a slightly blue collar worker group, I suppose, if we think then that the powerful corporations are tech giants. We have Mercenaries of the Legion. So we kind of, well, mercenaries, not quite assassins, but we got a mercenary guild, yeah. The Secretive Draconites. We don't know anything about them because they're secretive, so that's very good. They're doing their job well. The Order of the Pariah. So we have one religious faction. We have Alham's Temple with its courtesans and philosophers. That is a mix. That's a real mix.
Yeah. Interesting mix to have.
Yes. Yes. I'm just going to the library, sweetheart, to study.
Yeah.
Said the philosopher. And lastly, the People's Church. So we have another religious faction. What says these two religious factions don't get on?
Of course not.
But then we've got two additional groups that are regarded as factions, although they are not represented at the council. So we have the criminal network of the syndicate. So you've got to have a criminal network, haven't you? And then the nomads of the Nomad Federation. So a group of people who I would assume just travel the third horizon in a nomadic lifestyle. Maybe they travel as opposed to I suppose Middle East. It would be camels, wouldn't it? So what's the technological equivalent of camels? Yeah, going from maybe one oasis to another.
I mean, that would be Mao from Firefly and his group. That's
it would, wouldn't
exactly
it?
what they did.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So we have, let's just see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different factions. 9, 10. Considering the other two. And then, just as we're getting established with that, so as the third horizon has just begun to blossom again, the harmony had returned to the Council of Factions, the peace was suddenly broken from the depths of the gas giant, I'm going to say it's Zine, rose the faceless emissaries, spectres from another world, icons or portal builders, The theories about their origins are many. The emissaries demanded a seat at the council and got one. One of the emissaries claimed itself an incarnation of the icon the Judge, to which the Order of the Pariah cried sacrilege and closed their home system to all travel. A new age of shadows and suspicion has dawned, and the peoples of the horizon all wonder what is the true agenda of the emissaries. And of course, straight away, I'm thinking of the Vorlon from Babylon 5 there. Some hidden, mysterious race that has been put into our sort of council setting, but we know nothing about. But we've got to accept, maybe due to a little bit of fear, because we don't know if they technologically far supersede us.
And then we still have the other ship that hasn't showed up. There's too much.
There is, but of course we don't have to deal with it all in one go. But this rich tapestry of world building here in literally just a couple of pages. It's so much, and this is why I was so excited reading through.
So many more questions too that you have. It's just like I have questions now.
You do. So it obviously talks about then the conflict, because we've got all these different peoples, we've got all these different factions. You know, there's gonna be conflict, and this of course then is a rich setting for our players. So the possibilities, the new era does however bring with it many new opportunities for adventurers like you and your group. Trading with far-off systems, solving conflicts with your trusty Vulcan carbine, spying on shady corporations or factions, escorting travellers and pilgrims, delivering important messages as couriers, or searching for secrets in the ruins of old, be it the remnants of the portal builders or the looming wrecks from the portal wars. All this and much more is at your feet in Coriolis, the Third Horizon. What a great introduction. I am so excited because there's so much to explore, and like I say, you don't have to do it all at once, but my goodness. So we go to chapter 2, creating your character, but again we have this wonderful artwork. I obviously go looking through multiple Free League games now. Their art seems to follow a similar sort of style, even though the images of course are unique to that game world, but I like the style that they do. It's a bit sort of sketchy, and I do like that. And of course they are really communicating the sort of Middle Eastern sort of feel here, with the clothing, with the architecture, with the intricate designs in the wall there.
The artwork. So I play D&D on Tuesday evenings in Dark Sun, and it's a similar type of setting because we're in the desert and everything. It just brings that feel and trauma.
Yes. Yeah, and that's, I mean, it did say, didn't it? It's Firefly, but take out the Western cowboy influence and put on in the Middle Eastern sort of influence there. Which you can definitely see in this picture. So, moving on. So we have our group. So I thought this was interesting, but of course it makes sense. Again, I'm going to keep on saying Firefly a lot of times because that is the best way to visualize this game, isn't it? So your group, what brought your group together? Where do you, because you might all be different peoples from different areas of the Third Horizon, but there is a reason why you're all together. So basically, to create your group, you must pick a group concept. You pick your spaceship, there's a group talent, you pick your patron, and you pick your nemesis. From the concept, now then, let's just make sure I get this right. There are a variety of different concepts that you can choose from. And we'll just go through the sort of overview on this. But ultimately, Is it just going to list it for me here? There are 5 group concepts to choose. So agents, mercenaries, free traders, pilgrims, and explorers. So what type of group do you think our ship and crew should be?
Mercenaries.
Mercenaries. All right, let's look at mercenaries then. So not all can enjoy the peace and prosperity of the new era. Old wounds fester in the dark, and the absence of peace means plenty of job opportunities for people like you. Mercenaries. As such, you are often both feared and scorned, yet valuable pawns in the power plays of the factions. Mercenaries can be anything from legionnaires to hired guns for the consortium. Typical jobs for you would be crushing rebels on, oh gosh, who are who 9? Who 9? Hunting corsairs in the border space, or toppling Dabaran Pashas. What's a Dabaran Passage? See, I'm going to learn so much. Okay, so what have we got? Mercenary groups concepts can be used for corsairs, rebels, tactical fight teams. With sub-concepts, so with the soldier as an officer, soldier as a legionnaire, trailblazers as a scout, pilot as a fighter pilot, scientist as a technician, and operative as a spy. So there's quite a few varieties of character classes that you could go for there. We'll look at that in a little bit of detail in a moment. So remember that we've got soldiers, trailblazers, pilots, scientists, and operatives. So then, once we've picked our group concept, we have to pick our spaceship, which I can imagine as a group you're going to labor so much time over this, because of course the spaceship is your mobile home, isn't it? It's your base. It's where you're going to spend a reasonable amount of time, and everyone's going to have their own little part in it. Saying that, of course, the GM might provide a ship for you. So there is a section, chapter 7, where it goes through and looks at designing spaceships, and we'll look at that in a moment. But then debt. Essentially, you owe about 50% of your spaceship, depending on how much it cost. Which means you've got an incentive to want to get out there into the big black and earn some coin. So there's reasons for you to go off and do jobs, isn't there? We then have group talents, which I believe it goes into a little bit of detail in another chapter. And then we have our patron and our nemesis. Someone who's going to help us, someone who's going to hinder us. And of course, depending on, well, we were mercenaries, so it gives us some examples here. Again, more names for me to ruin. Let's go with the easy one. Hatmar the Skull Kurash from the Legion. A recruiter for the Legion, but also involved in running operations that are too dirty for Legion standards. Ooh. Or how about Farhad Chrisma? Strike Team Chrisma, an ex-judicator now hired by the Consortium for interventions against rebels and agents of other factions. Maybe we wronged one of these during a mission and they've never quite forgiven us for it. Maybe that's their nemesis. Or maybe one of them is helping us, funding our group. But that's for us to work out. So we've then got the player character. And again, it goes to a huge amount of detail here. So choosing your background, choosing a concept, determining your reputation score, choosing a name, choosing your appearance, distributing your attribute points, determining your hit points and mind points, distributing your skill levels, choosing a talent, randomly determine your icon and icon talents, choosing a personal problem, Choose your relationships to the other PCs, choose your gear, and choose your crew position. So it's quite a bit, but having looked through quite a few of Free League's games, this seems all very familiar, doesn't it? We've seen this in Tales from the Loop, we've seen it in Mutant Year Zero, and of course it is the Year Zero engine that this game is built upon. So once you've played one of those games, you've kind of got a good idea of how this game's going to play. So we'll skip through this a little bit because there's lots for us to go through, but of course, as we always do with these sort of deep dives, is we need to look at the different character types and choose which one are we going to be. And I've got to see if I can try and guess who you've gone for. So, what do we have? We start off with the artist. And it gives you some possible sub concepts. So we have the courtesan, the musician, the poet. So, okay, that's interesting. Do we have an artist in our mercenary group? We then have... Possibly. We then have the data spider, who could be maybe an analyst or a correspondent. So I like the idea, a journalist, a news journalist. Or a data djinn, data genie. So somebody who is really, really good at hacking whatever interwebs they have in this universe. And again, as we've seen before, they give suggestions for different names and give some idea of some skills, suggestions for appearance. It's all very helpful. We then have the fugitive. Maybe you are a criminal or a mystic. A mystic. Or a revolutionary. And then we have the negotiator. So are you an agitator or a diplomat? Or a peddler? Again, I'm loving all of the artwork on these. We have the operative. So are you an assassin? Or a guardsman, guardswoman? Or a spy?
I don't think you'll get which one I chose for this one.
Oh, right, okay. This is going to be interesting, right? So we have the pilot. So are you a driver, or a fighter pilot, or a freighter pilot? Did you choose a sub-concept as well?
No, I just kind of went, I was like, character.
Right, okay.
Well, I guess I did kind of choose one based off of like a favorite character, so yeah.
Okay, well,
she would have a sub one.
We will find out. Because we got the preacher. So an ascetic. I don't know what an ascetic is. A missionary or a prophet. We then, I think this is coming up to close now. We have the scientist. So are you an archaeologist or a medic, a medicine person, whatever that is, or a technician? Or are you a ship worker, so a deckhand or a dock worker or an engineer? Or a soldier? Oh, too far. No, come back. Soldier. So a legionnaire, a mercenary, or an officer. And finally, I think I am right, yes, a trailblazer, which is a colonist, a prospector, or a scout. Now, I don't know about you, but I feel that this game has possibly some of the best character classes in quite a few games. There seems to be something for everyone here, and they're so diverse. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Especially because, like, you could have multiple people be the same character, but different sub-concepts to what they actually are.
Yeah, yeah. So, what did you go for? That is a tough one. Right. See, typically, as I've learned, you usually go for characters that involve copious amounts of blood or horrific elements to them. So I don't think you'd go something as obvious as the operative assassin. And the next one then would be the soldier, wouldn't it? And there's various, the legionnaire, the mercenary, or the officer. I mean, well, here we go. You jumped at a mercenary crew, so soldier mercenary would...
I did, but I also compared it to Mal's crew.
Oh, so are you trying to emulate a character from Mal's crew?
Oh, I absolutely am. My absolute favorite character.
Oh, well, in that case, then. And believe me, I'd play this one as well, but I've got a different one. I'm going to say you're going to be the artist courtesan.
I am not.
No? Okay.
No. Kaylee is my favorite.
Kaylee, the engineer. Oh, of course.
Yes.
Of course, Kaylee. Shiny. Yes, of course, Kaylee. So, ship worker, engineer. Oh yeah, there you go.
Yep.
I can see that. Oh, hang on. There we go. So you maintain the technical state of the ship. The head engineer will sometimes give you orders, but most times you just get things done on your own. You might be a reactor djinn, a torpedo operator, or a ship's mechanic. Can you guess what I went for?
I want to say you went for, like, the pilot.
Oh, okay.
Pilot or the silent scientist, I think.
The pilot? Where's the pilot? Was it the trouble? It's actually back here, wasn't it?
Pilot. Now I gotta find it.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the pilot seems pretty good. Pretty good. I mean, I could have been an older fighter pilot, maybe, because I'm now part of a crew, aren't I? But no, I just went one page over.
Oh,
I wanted to be the preacher. I wanted to be the preacher. Now, I this may or may not translate for you. It depends if you watched. But there was a British TV comedy series called Father Ted. And they had a disgruntled old priest, and I wanted to be that in space.
Oh no!
I just wanted to swear, but the idea being that I've been kind of touched by one of the icons. I've completely lost my mind, but every now and again I'm absolutely spot on. But most of the rest of the time I'm just, incoherent, spouting and babbling and rah 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 rah. Yes, and I looked at this image and that's exactly what I thought. So that's what I wanted to play. So I guess maybe would I be as a prophet? No, maybe I go for somebody. I suppose it's the ascetic, isn't it? It's somebody connected to a church. I think, what's the character out of the Star Wars, out of Rogue One, where he's a sort of believer of the Jedi faith, but not a Jedi. So it's something along those sort of lines, Maybe I am not actually connected to any religion, but I suppose I'm a bit of a zealot, aren't I? Is that I believe it so much that I sound as if I potentially are part, and maybe I dress to look like it. But actually, if you ask questions or if you find out, I've got no connection to the church whatsoever. Well, I'm just a big fan.
You could be a hermit. It says under your description there.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Yes, there we go. Hermit, bit mad, a bit of sort of Doc Brown energy in there, but in a sort of more religious as opposed to science sort of side. I thought that would be quite good fun. I'm not quite sure what my area on the ship might be. They might just leave me locked up in the hold. I think that might be the safest for everybody.
I feel like you would just kind of wander, and everybody, whenever you got to somewhere, everybody would just kind of turn you around and give you a gentle push, like, okay, go off to the next section now.
That's it, yes.
Just go wandering.
Yes. And pointing my finger. And then walk off. Okay. So it goes on, and once we've decided on our character and our concept, we get to the skills. And again, if you've played any of the Year Zero games, this will all be very, very straightforward. As it says there on the next page, 6s means success. So you're going to be rolling your dice. Your dice are going to be from your key 4 attributes of strength, agility, wit, and empathy. And that will tell you how many dice you have there. And then you'll be adding your skills to those. That will then give you a total number of dice. You roll up all those dice. Any 6s means a success. If you have multiple 6s, then you unlock bonus effects. But again, this is all very much part of the Year Zero system. So as you can see, what do we have? We have general skills of dexterity, force, infiltration, manipulation, melee combat, observation, ranged combat, and survival. And then advanced skills of command, culture, datagen, medicine, I'm just going to say it's medicine, mystical powers, pilot, science, and technology. And these are all broken down by the 4 key attributes of strength, agility, wits, and empathy. You can pray to the icons, and this will allow you to re-roll all dice not showing 6s. However, tip over to part. The dark between the stars. The universe strives towards balance. If you use the power of the icons to help you, you will sooner or later suffer backlash, something represented in the game by darkness points. Every time you pray to the icons for a reroll, the GM gets 1 darkness point. And they can use this in a number of ways. So darkness points. The GM can use the darkness points to reroll, to take the initiative, to empty a clip, to cause a misfire, to reactivate action, to lose a possession of one of the PCs, to add reinforcements, to put an innocent bystander into danger, to pose a personal problem to one of the characters. Nature's wrath, something in the environment suddenly affects them. A dark mind. A PC is suddenly stricken with a temporary dark madness. And then, the power of darkness. Certain talents or abilities can be activated by NPCs or creatures using the darkness points. So, I thought this was quite neat. It gives the GM a little bit of a boost up, have a little bit of fun, throw some randomness into the game.
There's a D&D rule that one of our games implements, and it is make a deal. And you can choose to turn any roll into a natural 20.
All right.
But in return, at any point, the the dungeon master can turn any roll into a natural 1.
Oh,
so this
okay.
is that same feel to it. It's so good.
Right, and actually, I suppose there's quite a few games that do this sort of idea, because I know that Modiphius's Star Trek game does something similar, and we'll be looking at one of their Star Trek games in the future. So we continue through. I mean, it's starting to talk about all the skills, and you can spend a lot of time going through all of these. But again, you know, as you play various role-play games, many of these, you kind of expect them now, don't you? Dexterity, manipulate. It's just seeing how it's interpreted within this gaming framework. And of course, then it moves on to the advanced skills. So here we go. Yeah, data gen. Terminals, sensors, and advanced data systems are all part of everyday life in the Third Horizon. Most computers are voice operated, but interaction through touchpads, data stylus, or via the user's cybernetics is not uncommon. Most people in Horizon can use basic data systems, but advanced operations require a data gen test. For example, entering protected systems, modifying or writing new programs, or counteracting spyware and attack memes. Data gen is also used to operate ship sensors. So in fact, again, it's interesting that this game, I don't think it actually focuses massively on an internet. But of course, it's a different style of game. It's just sort of taken for granted, isn't it? As opposed to it being a major feature. Whereas we've seen other games where the internet is a core part of the game experience.
Yep.
Oh, too far. There we go. So, mystical powers. In the last few years, reports of mystics, people with special powers, have started to surface. The reaction didn't take long. Amongst the religious cults, mystics have either been murdered or worshipped as heralds of the icons, depending on the cult's belief. So, maybe you don't want to have mystical powers. Or at least not present
or if you
them.
do, you hide them.
Yes.
Yeah.
That could be an interesting story point, couldn't it?
Especially if, like, something went wrong and you had that madness put on you. That could be really interesting.
Oh, yes, it could, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Interesting. So somebody who's actually put a lot of points behind their mystical power, but of course they want to keep it hidden, and they use it, which reveals themselves to bystanders, which then of course causes a whole load of issues for them, even though they may have been doing something good. Oh, that's interesting. We go to Chapter 4, Talents. And again, there's table after table on this, which really help to build up your character, making them unique. There are general talents. There is humanite talents. These are special talents for a particular race that only they can have: pheromones, resistant, and water breathing. Make of those as you will. And so we then get to group talents. So this is something that can be used by the entire group. So we were mercenaries, weren't we? So we have the assault, the charge, or the situational awareness talents. So assault, get a +2 on your range combat. Charge, get a +2 on your melee combat. And awareness, +2 on observation. What would we go for?
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, observation could be really handy.
Could be, couldn't it? Hopefully that gets us out of trouble, or at least we don't fall into trouble in the first place.
Yeah. See, because this is the thing. It's like one would keep us like out of trouble, and the other one could either get us into or out of trouble.
Okay.
I kind of like manipulation because it could go either way. So I think.
Oh, you mean but that's for the explorers.
Oh, yep, that's free traders. Yep, I was too far up there.
Yep. So yes, you've got to pick a talent within your group concept. So we were the mercenaries. We only have assault, charge, and the awareness. So I suppose it's awareness, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. That would probably be what we went for.
Yeah, unless we were decided to sort of, double down on our combat prowess and just fighting our way through everything.
I don't know, with you being like just mad and me being a technician, like, nope, we're just gonna go.
Yes, that's the thing. We're not quite mercenaries, are we? We may be more in the free traders area, I would say, because free traders could still be. You probably still need an engineer, and maybe you've picked up a raving preacher. Who knows? But here we go. Then we got icon talents. So as your character is born under the sign of one of the icons, they are blessed by it. Icon talents are determined randomly when creating your PC and can never be learned during play. So we have the Lady of Tears talent, the Dancer's talent, the Gambler's talent, the Merchant's talent, the Deckhands, the Travelers, the Messengers, the Judges, and the Faceless Ones. So we have, I think there's 9 sort of deities that will give us a bonus. So we will get a random one of those. And then we've got general talents that, of course, we can we learn and we can increase as we play through the game, and we get XP points, each one costing 5 XP. We have, depending on our race, we have the Humanite talent. The pheromones add to manipulation. Resistant means that you can weather extreme, well, your body can endure extreme weather and natural hazards. And water breathing just means you can breathe underwater, which is quite cool. And then you have cybernetic implants. Whole variety of those that you can add.
Now, unless you were like something that was going to be based mostly on a planet, the underwater breathing wouldn't necessarily be too handy.
Yeah, but of
course,
because
if you're traveling in a spaceship and you're doing most of your stuff out in space with your encounters and that, ships meeting each other, you don't need to breathe underwater.
That's true, but you see, this is what I found really, really cool about this game, and we'll kind of get to it as we go through, is that you don't have to be on your ship all the time, and you don't have to be on the space station all the time. You could be on a planet and spend an entire game on a planet. So it could actually, for all intended purposes, for that session, you could be on a sea planet, and suddenly water breathing is really, really handy. But of course, you don't know where your adventure may take you. Yeah, so that's
exactly
part of the fun. So it is a bit of a gamble. I suppose it is the weakest of the 3 there. Resistant, of course, is pretty good all round. Manipulation, I suppose that if you've gone for a character that already is leaning in that direction, having that aspect would actually be really helpful, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But so we have genetic implants, and then we have bionic sculpts, and then there are mystical powers. So here we go. An artificer. You can enter a trance to understand an artifact close to you and determine its origin and use. Or a clairvoyant. Or an exorcist. or intuition. So
See,
those are
I
quite.
feel like you're an artificer that just something went wrong when you got too close to an artifact.
Oh, and it scrambled my mind. Oh, I
Yep.
like it. Yes. Or maybe, here we go. Maybe I was a clairvoyant and I got visions of an object or a person, but you know how looking in the Palantir and suddenly one of the Palantirs that's in the bottom of the ocean and you lose your mind because it's not being able to latch onto something. So maybe it's something like that, but my mind is lost. But
I mean,
every
even
now
the
and again.
exorcist work,
Yes.
because you took the spirit from somebody, and now it's war. Like that's what's made you crazy. It's you're warring. There's two different personalities in your head. You could play it off like that. Oh, that would be fun.
That could be a lot of fun, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Hang on. But we've done ourselves a disservice because there are more. We have Mind Reader, Mind Walker, Prediction, Premonition, Stop, and Telekinesis. So it's actually quite a fair few sort of abilities there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and there's a little point there talking about the problems of clairvoyance. So they haven't done a point on that. All right, moving on. So we want to get to a little bit further along because again, a lot of this it is unique to the game, but of course we have sort of seen it in previous games. So combat, we get all of the rules on how combat plays out, your turns and your initiative. Types of actions, slow actions, normal actions, fast actions, and free actions. We go through, too far. Ranges, close, short, long, and extreme. Sneak attacks and ambushes. Starts talking about melee combat. Inevitably goes on to ranged. Again, wonderful artwork throughout here. Nice and easy to read, lots of nice examples alongside. Talking about different weapons and stress. And then the damage, taking cover. And then on to critical injuries. I like how here, medical equipment, you have a healing scarab that automatically restores 2 hit points.
Oh, no, I hate it.
Yes, because all you can think of is the mummy, and you're not thinking of it healing at all, are you? But yes.
I'm thinking of it like eating away the damaged flesh.
Oh, that's an idea. Yes, if you had like a burn. Oh, that's interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
We then have critical injuries, crushed knees, crushed face, broken neck, pierced heart,
groin hit.
Yeah. Oh, that's gonna hurt. Oh, gouged eye. These actually seem a little nastier than the previous charts that we've had for their games.
Oh, lacerated kidney.
No, not good. We then go on to... We've got injuries from falling, drowning, fire, explosions, hunger and thirst, the cold, vacuum of space, radiation. There are so many ways to die.
It's great. It's fantastic. Why are we out here again?
Exactly, yeah. Oh, the description of being in the vacuum is not good. It then starts talking about vehicles, the different types of vehicles that you may encounter. Because as I say, it's not just a case of being on a spaceship. you could just spend your entire game experience on a planet. So it's got to cater for all of that aspect as well, hasn't it? So we've got armored grav bike, a crawler, and it gives a little bit of detail here. Vehicles in the third horizon. So it's enough for you to be able to create a vehicle. So weapons and equipment, chapter 6. And this is where, obviously, these games, I enjoy these sections because it really helps to sort of flesh the world out, doesn't it? The types of things that people might be wearing or what they may be carrying, and I think this does it particularly well. We'll get to some of the imagery here because, again, there's a lot of names here that I have no idea what they are, but thankfully the designers have been on point and they have put in handy illustrations so that you can start to identify. And clothing is a large part of this, and this of course helps to communicate the theme very visually. And so we have a variety of different sub-concepts in different types of clothing, and it explains it, what the different types of clothes are on the side here, which is really, really handy. So I don't have, there is not a preacher amongst this group, is there? But is there an engineer? No, there's no engineer, so we can't pick that either.
Of course.
Yeah. I'm not even going to try and say any of these words because I will ruin them. I can say the pilot in a camise, so I can say that one, and a soldier in a kaftan. So in fact, we've got the archaeologist in a camise. You can see there's actually quite a difference, isn't there? But again, it'd be wonderful to get some miniatures. I don't know where you might get miniatures that would be suitable for this. Maybe it'd be a bit of a, take a fantasy-based miniature and then put guns and, little additions from a sci-fi game on, ammo packs and data pads and things like that. And maybe that's how you would create your miniature, wouldn't you? That's actually quite cool. I like the idea of that. In fact, we'll be doing some sci-fi miniatures tomorrow night. Doing a bit of painting. So, we go on to medical technology. If I jumped ahead, I have a little bit here. It's just so much stuff. So, spider suit and survival mask and survival rations. Because again, I suppose this is where the slightly nomadic desert sort of elements, we can't assume that every planet we visit is hospitable to humanoid life. But still, humans want to persevere, don't they? So, and I can imagine, there'll be quite a few sort of desert sort of planets that would be very thematic, wouldn't it? But not Tatooine. There's no Tatooine. We've got enough of Tatooine. Various drones, jetpacks, lie detectors and lockpicks and proximity sensors. There's just so much stuff. But just, done in a slightly different style. And we get these teasers throughout in the artwork of the different starships that you can possibly see or acquire. We got weapons and armor, and I like this. I like that they took the time. It's not just a list. We've got visualization of the various weapons. I think that really helps. So this is all quite nice.
It's very like 40K, the style.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
of the guns for a lot of it. Yeah.
yeah.
Which is nice because if you were
bolters.
modding, if you happen to play Warhammer and that, and you have the extra guns and stuff, you can mod out your miniature easy.
Yes. Yeah. Do you know what? Actually, the miniatures that I will be doing tomorrow night is for the Stargrave sci-fi miniatures game, and I was just thinking that North Star figures. I think they do a fantasy range as well. I'm going to have to look and see if they do a Middle Eastern themed pack, because that being the case, you could just swap the arms out and suddenly you've got a rifle in a fantasy character's torso and head or whatever. So yeah, I'm going to have to actually look into that. I think this would be quite a cool game to be able to mod some miniatures and make something quite unique for it. I'll have to see what's available. So we've got our lists giving us all the different ranges and damage, and here we go. And I like this. Mercurium weapons are based on advanced technology where liquid metals in the hilt of a weapon are activated and form a blade, after which they turn solid. Drawing and activating a Mercurium weapon is one fast action. A cell is required to power the weapon. When the cell is depleted, the blade is extended and stays in solid form. So, it might not be Star Wars, but we can still have some fun here. But that's quite cool. I like the idea of it. So it's liquid metal. That's cool. That's so cool. I like that. That's a lot of fun. What else do we have? Oh gosh, energy staffs and energy whips. So there's plenty here, and then different armors. There's just so much, isn't there? And then of course it starts going through the lists of cybernetics and bionics. Okay, so there's so much you can do to equip your character, making them unique. So here's the bit that I obviously really enjoyed going through. It's the spaceships and star travel, because this is where it reminds me of, like I say, those PC games I played when I was younger. So it talks a little bit about star travel, traveling about systems, the portal jumps, and I thought this was quite cool because you have to roll to basically see if how your portal jump actually does. Yep. And portal jumps can go wrong. So roll a table when a portal jump fails. All results but the last one mean that the ship remains in the system it attempted to leave. If you failed when jumping blind, add a +1 to the die showing the tens. Okay, so the ship enters the field at its very edge, causing explosive decompression in a random module. The field absorbs the energy of the ship's reactor. The ship is disabled. The ship enters the portal but is flung out again. The ship is hit by a powerful discharge. The ship collides with another ship. The ship enters the portal and is lost there for a number of hours. The ship disappears into the portal for a number of days. The ship disappears into the portal for D6 months. But there we go. The last one. The ship enters the portal but exits in a random system.
So cool.
I mean, that's great. So every time you want to do a jump, you know, is an element of, oh my goodness, is it going to work? And it does of course say here that planet side landings. So you can of course land your ship into whatever planet you may be visiting, whichever system you may be in. It then goes through the spacecraft of the Third Horizon. So this is where you can actually create your own ship. And I thought, this is great. I could spend just days doing this and then drawing sketches and doing blueprints for my ship. I would have so much fun with it. What about you, Mystical? Would you build your own spaceship?
I love creating it. Oh yeah. It's just, you can get lost in it and it's so cool.
So it does say here there are various ship types. We've got a shuttle, a torpedo ship, light freighter, medium freighter, courier ship, express freighter, patrol ship, gunship, assault ship, blockade runner, pleasure cruiser, flying circus, love it, mining ship, repurposed space station, or a passenger ship. And there's a few of those. The blockade runner, in fact, actually, medium freighter, courier ship. There are pre-made ship plans available. Aha! So we'll see these. Good evening, Roger. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. So, yes, you essentially get your sort of frame of your ship, and then you start building the various modules. And again, talking about video games, there is a video game coming out at the end of this year called Starfield that allows you to do exactly the same thing, where you can buy your ship and start creating, put the different modules together, make it totally unique. So, salvage station, docking station, a hangar, cabins, a chapel, a cargo hold, a med lab. These are all things that you might want to use in your ship. And everything has a cost. And then, of course, we're going to want to have weapon systems, ion missiles and auto cannons and plasma torpedoes, and nuclear mines, of course. Ablative armor. I mean, we go over here. Oh my goodness, there's just so much. So, weapon systems data. We have different features for systems. So we could have an arboretum, or we could have antimatter rockets, or we could have system intelligence. And I like this one. It's a versatile AI. So you can make your ship a character, because your ship has got a personality and it talks to you and it does things for you.
It's gonna betray you.
It's not. It's a loyal crew member until it's not.
It's gonna betray you.
So,
I have watched too many shows where that has happened. You can't tell me it won't happen.
So I like all of that. I think that's quite cool. There we go. The ship's intelligence. The ship's main computer is very capable and verbal. It can perform any function on the ship with a 1 in the attribute and a 3 in the skill relevant for that function. Have you ever watched Red Dwarf?
I haven't. I want to. I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, so again, for those who have watched Red Dwarf, I want the ship's intelligence to be like Talkie Toaster. And you'll have to go and watch the episode with Talkie Toaster to know how my ship's intelligence is going to be.
I know what Roger is referencing. I've seen first game.
Like, is that Moya from Farscape?
Yeah.
I think I've seen that.
Oh gosh.
I think you could have a lot of fun. Well, let's put it this way: the GM will have a lot of fun with your artificial intelligence ship.
Right, I'm telling you, you do that, and the GM's gonna be like, something is corrupt now.
It's like, you're making it too easy for me. So here we go. We have some templates here for some ships. We've got a light freighter, the Scarab. We've got a gunship, Azuk. So we can use these as a jumping off point, or just use them as is. Courier ship, or Orax. Let's go with that. A salvage ship, Kamruk. And then we got some other ships here. Space scooters and shuttles and corsair ships. And again, you know, we've got elements of the artwork here that give you an idea. The middle one is a little bit Firefly-ish, isn't it, with its great big thrusters?
I need that one in the middle, because that's the Firefly ship right there.
Yeah. But of course, with that Middle Eastern sort of aesthetic to it, which is really cool. So then it goes on to actual space combat, and this is where the different players actually must have crew positions, and there are 5: the captain, the engineer, the pilot, the sensor operator, and the gunner. And so when you do engage in combat, everybody has a role to play. You've got to do something, and it's like a mini game within the actual game itself. So no one's just sat there, you know, like with some space games, essentially the pilot stroke gunner, they could be pretty much doing it all, couldn't they? You know, and everyone else just sat around basically twiddling their thumbs. But the way that Coriolis does it is that it's important for the captain to give the orders, then the engineer has got to allocate power and make sure everything's working, then the pilot has got to maneuver into position, the sensor operator's got to do the lock-on and the targeting, and the gunner's got to pull the trigger. So everybody is doing something, everyone's involved. I thought that was quite neat. But it goes into more detail. What role, what position would you be in our starship?
Well, I'm engineer.
Well, you would be, of course. Yes, of course. Yeah. So there you go. As the mad priest that I am, oh my goodness, I really do not know.
I want to put you in a sensor operator. Just everything goes wrong. Oh my.
Well, maybe this is where I find calm in the storm. But I'm absolutely amazing. Or the gunner, yes. I was thinking gunner.
You take it out on everything around.
Yes. Yeah, maybe there is this dark entity within me. So maybe my priest, as much as he's babbling incoherently, but maybe combat, actually, that's the entity taking over, and it enjoys it so much. Yeah.
Oh, sad and twisted.
Oh, very much so. Rogue is saying, I think that makes the group work more as a crew. Yes, it does. I think it's a great little system that encourages everybody to take part. And will be quite funny, I think. Okay, so we continue along. And it goes into more detail on how the combat actually plays out. And as I say, it talks about... we've done the turn phases, the order phase, engineering phase. And then we get into the piloting phase, sensor phase... attack phase, and then ship damage to the crew, and thankfully it gives a large example on how actual space combat plays out with some wonderful graphics.
Pew pew pew.
Pew 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 pew. Yep.
Pew pew pew.
Okay. So I do think space combat in this could be a lot of fun. Roger, you're going to go for the pilot since the engineer is taken. Okay, you're going to go for a pilot, are you? Okay, so we then go. So that was all the rules. And that was not too bad, and we are, what are we? That was 175 pages of this 400-page book. I don't think we're going to get to the end here. But we then go into what is going to be the Games Masters section, and giving us lots and lots of great detail all about the Third Horizon. And again, this is where you really enjoy to be able to sit down and read this. So what you can see on this digital version is that is the Third Horizon. Those are the 36 star systems that are connected by the portals. And of course, like with so many of Free League's games, you can get a map pack that will give you a large version of that, so you can and your players can work out which planets you're going to. You can see how the portals are linked together, so there might be a journey of several jumps to be able to get to your destination.
That's terrifying, given how, like, that they can go wrong.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, so you obviously want somebody good doing the you don't want me doing the rolls for the jumping. Yeah, let's just you know.
Although if you ended up getting the one where they exit in a random place, that could be right where we want it to be.
Or it could be on the other side of the sort of
very well could.
I can't say the system. There? The chance is there. Okay. So again, it gives us more detail. This is all the history, all the lore, so that the Games Master can really get familiar with the setting of Coriolis. Talking about the history of the Horizon today. And then it starts going into detail on the factions. We mentioned that there were 8 core factions, with then 2 additionals. And in fact, the factions are broken down into the 2 core groups, which was of course the First Come and the Zenithians. So you can see there the Consortium, the Free League, the Legion, the Syndicate, and the Homogeny. And then Halam's Temple, the Draconites, the Church of the Icons, the Order of the Pariah, and the Nomad Federation. And so once we got that, it then starts going through and actually looking at each of the factions. So it goes into the Consortium. I mean, there is so much information to take in now. But it's all great. It's all great. It's discovering a brand new universe that, I suppose most people have a good understanding, don't they, about Star Trek. When we go through the Star Trek game, we understand what most of the concepts are and where it's set and who the major players are within that universe, which will be lots of fun to go and explore and see the detail. But this is all new. It's all original. And I think that has its own sort of charm to it, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
We got
Absolutely.
The Syndicate, the organised crime element. So there's just so much. The Draconites. Right, okay. Through conflict, the truth. So, I suppose some elements of these we might not want to go too deeply into, because of course this is where the GM gets to explain it all to the players, don't they? So we've got quite a few here. Order of the Pariah, Nomad Federation. And then what do we have here? The small players. Group of organizations operating one level beneath the factions. The factions may be the true rulers on the horizon, but they cannot run everything. So we've got free trade and markets, freelance agencies, spy nests. I mean, and I like some of this. Did I go past it? Here we go. This artwork here, because the artwork is not just for the planets that we might visit, but also for the Coriolis station itself, which is huge. And we'll get to see that in a second. And again, this is where it has that Babylon 5 feeling to it, because of course all these factions are all present in the Coriolis station.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we have the people of the horizon. So going into a little bit more detail. Detail on the first come, on the starfarers, the humanites, which I've mentioned before, that have those additional talents. They are modified humans created to perform certain functions or endure certain hardship better than base humans. Ah, so that explains it then. There we go, the Zenithians. Yes, so that guy is a Zenithian, yes. That explains a lot. Yes. And then talking about daily life in the horizon, in a colony, a space station, in a city. I mean, it's just great. News and couriers, communications, music and song. And then it goes into icon belief. The 9 icons. So we get to learn a little bit more. And as you might have caught at the beginning, the large campaign that they've been doing for several books now is Mercy of the Icons. So icons do play a large part in the game. We might be able to pray to them to get a good roll, but who knows how else they may help or hinder. And then we got the various churches, which again we have this wonderful artwork to depict. And then we do have I mean it just doesn't stop. So we've got the faith of the people, but then we have spirits and myths, and we have Jinn. Jinn turn up in almost all first come fairy tales and myths, and although sometimes as Yin, Jinni, Janna, or Bokor, Jinn are thought to be unpredictable spirits full of tricks. In folklore, the Jinn are sent by the icons to assist heroes or punish tyrants and liars. They often show up as mirages, whirlwinds, or just a shimmering in the air, but they are said to be able to take human form or even the form of snakes or winged creatures.
Yeah, there it goes.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I don't know quite how that works into the game, but wow, if we can start having sort of genies in the game as well, that's quite cool. So this is on the right hand page there. This is the Coriolis space station above the planet. Was it Kua, the jungle planet? And again, it goes into all the detail. So Coriolis has a population of 521,000 permanent residents. Space station measures 6,136 meters from the cellar to the top of the spire. It's great when they just go into so much detail like this. And so we have the ring, we have the spaceport and the promenade and the spice plaza. And this artwork here, this just gives you just an amazing sense of scale. So this is the promenade, and you can see obviously the sort of bazaar that is stretched out down on the floor there. But just look how high, and you've got these connecting bridges going across. What an amazing scene! And of course, that...
and somehow.
Somehow what? Sorry.
Somehow we have birds in the
Yes.
space station.
Yes. Why not? Why not? Rogue is saying makes me think of Babylon 5. Absolutely, absolutely. This game is heavily inspired by Middle Eastern culture. So think Firefly, think Babylon 5, and then swap out the Western elements and replace it with Middle Eastern. And you've got a good handle on what this game is like. But doesn't that look amazing?
Oh,
Just
yeah.
Huge. Oop. So we got the market of different plazas. And then the core. There's just so much. So you can effectively... You could spend an entire game, many adventures just in Coriolis. Never even getting on your ship and leaving, because it's such a vast space. And that's what I really enjoyed about it. And yeah, there's just so much. You know, student district, university. Talks about the spire. There's a restaurant at the top, which is cool. I mean, this is just great material. And then the cellar, of course, being right down at the bottom. If anyone's watched The Silo recently on Apple TV, then you might get an idea, a little bit of the opposing ends, the opulence of the spire and the downtrodden workers within the cellar. Oh, it does talk about the net.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. But it's not a net in the way we think. It's a different type of net.
No. It's very different.
Very different. So then it goes on about government within Coriolis.
It's very creepy. Read it.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. So it talks about courts and crime. And actually there's different levels of crime in different areas on the station. There are there are no actual prisons on Coriolis. Only a central jail in the headquarters of the Coriolis Guard and smaller detention centres. Violent maniacs are given to the Samaritan Santorum, where they are supposedly locked up in tiny cells on the lower levels. And then we've got a section here, important facts about Coriolis. And then we actually then discover the Kua system. So this is the planet to which the Coriolis station is orbiting. And unfortunately we're not getting the double page spread, but this is a wonderful image of the system with the central star, the various planets, the asteroid belt. All of those planets that I couldn't say properly right at the beginning. And then it goes into detail on all the planets.
Yeah.
It's great. It's absolutely great. And it gives us all the information about the planets. And so when you actually do see the Kua planet, you can see there that there's Coriolis orbiting it. Nice little detail. So each planet. So then, oh, here we go. Because we're looking at Kua, we know, of course, that there is the industrial section around the equator, but then there is the monolith, and that has been taken over by the Zenithians. It's the pride place in their civilization. So look at this monolith. So who created the monolith? Nobody knows. But we do have various palaces and spaceports within it. Again, just wonderful imagery. More planets to explore. And asteroid fields. And then, if that wasn't enough, we got close-up details of our local system. But then the game itself is the atlas of the Third Horizon. As I say, there are 36 systems, and so the game covers all 36 systems. So you're able to look at the types of stars, number of planets, important locations. I mean, this is just great. So again, I'm getting that feeling of those, spaceship, space sims on the PC. And there are different routes. So we saw before the map of the Third Horizon. So different sort of navigational routes that pilots may want to traverse. Goes into a little bit of detail on that. And then it's going through all the different systems. So not the detail on the actual planets, but the system as a whole. And there's just so much of it. I'm just quickly going through this. So just skipped a little bit. We then get finally to beasts and I guess genie. So different types of creatures that can be found in the various systems. We won't hang on this too much because we want some of this to be maybe a bit of a surprise, but my goodness. And I'm assuming that quite a lot of this might be taken from Middle Eastern culture. I guess like the Vassan game takes it from Scandinavian folklore and that, doesn't it? So maybe it's a similar situation here with a little bit of sci-fi influences in there as well. My goodness. That's quite horrific.
It's fine. Everything's fine. It's totally fine.
I mean, space. Everything wants to kill you. So, and then it then starts talking about what's that? Spirits and sarcophagi, and then it talks about diseases and mind memes. And ultimately then it brings us to a campaign at the end of the book, to which we do not want to ruin.
No.
But that's to page 341, and I can tell you, just having a quick flick through, yes, I mean, the artwork, you've already got a good understanding of how good it is, and that is continued throughout here. There are some really great floor plans. Some great floor plans of a ship that does look a lot like Firefly. Which is really nice. There's some space stations. Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff here. And then ultimately on the back page, which again, you get this as a map handout, it is the Coriolis space station. In fact, if I just quickly, can I do that? Let's see if we can go through real quick. Oh, it's not part of this. It's a separate element. That's why. Oh, that's a shame. I was going to try and show you the... In fact, hang on. I can do it. Hang on. I realise I've got a book in front of me. There you go.
Handy.
Yes. Who would have guessed? So, unfortunately, you can't see it to the same level of detail that you would do as the digital version, but it gives you an idea. Let's say this is one of... they make a big map of this, so you can really chart it out, can't you? You can see just how vast this is the ring, and this is the core. This is just a small section of it. It's a huge structure. So yeah, you could just spend quite a lot of gaming time just in the space station.
Oh, absolutely.
So what did you think? What do you think of this game? Is this game intrigued you, inspired?
Oh yeah, for sure. This game is like, okay, I want to play it now. I have all the questions, but I want to play it now.
I mean, I wonder to what level they have started to answer them, because that was the thing when we initially went through it. There were lots of remember this, because it's probably going to be valid at some point. As I say, this is their campaign that they've been running, and this is part 3. So there are 2 other large books. I'll just have a quick look. This is 200 pages. And in fact, there you go. We did kind of...
It's 200, it's fine. It's reading.
So this is... there's the third horizon. So that's the star map of it, of the different systems. And in fact, it actually highlights the different routes and indicates the first horizon area there. Where's the second horizon? Can't see the second. Or maybe it's the first horizon, these stars here. Maybe this is a different area. So, yeah. There's also quite a few supplements and other little mini adventures. So there's a lot of support for the game, because they've done quite a lot with it, which is great. And I think Drive Through RPG has a lot of supplements on it there as well. Well worth checking out. But yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. I just want to sit down and just read more and more about it, and then maybe sort of, start experimenting with a little adventure, I think. We can have our own Firefly crew, yeah?
Yes.
See how we do. Okay, well, I think that pretty much wraps it up for this evening. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm glad that you enjoyed the game. and are excited about it, because yeah, I certainly am.
Yeah, it's such a cool game. It's enough of a concept that we're already familiar with to get you into the game, but it's different enough to keep you in the game.
Yes, very much so. Yes, I think that's well put. It's you understand, because of all you've seen elements in other sort of pop culture, sci-fi sort of shows. You get that understanding, but then because the setting is unique, then you kind of okay, I want to learn more here. I'm coming in; it's still brand new, which is great. I think that's definitely very much the appeal of this game setting, and of course we know that the rules. Well, they're award-winning rules anyway, because they're based on the Year Zero engine that won many awards when it was launched. Just, of course, enhanced and reskinned for this particular game. So, yeah, looking forward to playing this in the future. Right.
Very much so.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I guess we will explore another game next week, maybe.
Yes.
All right. Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. So our thanks to Mystical for sharing Coriolis, the Third Horizon, with me tonight from Free League Publishing. As I say, very much excited about the game. Tomorrow night, we're going to keep with the sci-fi setting. I'll be doing some painting. I'm going to be painting up miniatures from Stargrave, from North Star Figures. And I will be using the Speed Paints version 2 from the Army Painter. So I'm hoping we're going to have quite a lot of fun. We're going to be trying some paints that have not been used before, some new colours, bit of experimenting. And now that we've talked about creating some unique miniatures for Coriolis, I'm going to have to start looking into that now, aren't I? So hopefully you will join me tomorrow night from 7 o'clock for a bit of miniature painting. And then on Thursday evening, we have a board game that we have never played before on the channel. So we'll be having a go at that on Thursday. As I say, we have never played this game before, okay? But you might all have a sense of deja vu. We'll see. Have a wonderful evening for the rest of the night, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow. But until then, bye for now.